So today I'm going to be talking about 2024 to 25 season and how it might be one of the best seasons in NBA and how there's so many parity. I mean, if you like it or not, I mean, most diehard fans like parity, but some of the more casual fans will like dynasties more. So if you like dynasties, you'll probably want Boston to win, which is a really big chance. And if you like parity, there is parity here. A ton of teams, especially in the West, 13 out of the 15 teams could make playoff appearances, which is will be insane because there's only 8 spots and 5 of really good teams will be out before the playoffs start. And then the East just got better and they have a pretty stacked at the top. So we'll be talking about the West and the East, what I believe is the ceiling of every team, and just talking about some of the additions that teams made and the resurgences of some teams and everything else. And my prediction for the season, maybe like not the championship yet, but like possibly like some playoff predictions and stuff like that. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about the West right now. 13 teams can make the playoffs. I believe the only 2 teams that will not is the rebuilding Blazers and the Jazz, but they also have some pretty solid talent too. And there is so many good teams in the West. Let's start with some of the teams that made some big moves, and we can start with the Dallas Mavericks getting Klay Thompson to a 3-year, $50 million deal. Klay is going to add a lot of shooting that they needed. A lot of the players Luka got last year were not that good at catching shooting in the playoffs, and Klay adds the one of the best shooters in NBA history to the team. He will get a lot of open with Luka and Kyrie spacing off the ball, on the ball, I mean. So that would be insane. We also have the Timberwolves, who made some pretty interesting moves, getting Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon from the draft. Rob being traded there is an interesting piece for the future of the Timberwolves and possibly taking another leap. And they added Joe Ingles, PJ Dozier. They can be some solid additions in the bench. Joe Ingles had his best seasons with Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley, so that's going to be a little interesting there. And then we also have the Nuggets, who although they lost KCP and probably did not do as good as probably are not good as their championship team, they still have Jokic, Jamal Murray. They got some pretty solid additions with Russell Westbrook, Dario Saric, and they still have their core intact mostly. So they're still a pretty good contender. We also have the OKC Thunder, who I believe will be improving a lot. Their whole team basically can play offense and defense, which is basically the new structure of the modern NBA. 3-and-D players, as well as having stars. And they added Caruso, who is one of the best defenders, and Hartenstein, who is one of the better big men. And they needed rebounding pretty bad, with Chet being basically their only tall center. Jalen Williams was alright, but he's not as good as a threat as Isaiah Hartenstein. So that's really 2 really good upgrades without trading anyone meaningful. They also re-signed Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, pretty good re-signs there. Then there's also some teams that, running it back, making some small moves. We have the Phoenix Suns, who have the big three, as well as adding players like Monte Morris, which will be solid. We have the Grizzlies, who are going to be back with their team healthy, along with adding players from last year like Vince Williams and GG Jackson to their core. And that is a really solid group. Number 2 seed in 2022. Almost won the first round. So that is a really nasty group there. We also have, the Lakers. AD has been looking really good in the Olympics. LeBron. They haven't really done anything in the offseason. So I'm a little worried, but they could still make the playoff push. We also have the Los Angeles Clippers, who although lost Paul George, they added a ton of good veterans like Chris Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., Nick Batum, Mo Bamba, and more. With Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, they still look like a threat, decent playoff threat. We have the Sacramento Kings, who added DeMar DeRozan to their team. They have a pretty solid big three now with De'Aaron, Demonis, and DeRozan. So they are looking pretty good. They also have decent depth. And then we have the Pelicans, who added DeJounte Murray from trade without trading any meaningful players. They still have Brandon Ingram. Don't know what they're going to do with that. And Zion Williamson, of course, took a pretty good leap, starting to shoot mid-range and three-pointers more. CJ McCollum's still there, so that'll be an interesting group. Then there is the Warriors, who made some pretty decent additions, adding Buddy Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and Kyle Anderson to their group. Even though losing CP3, Clay, and Sarge, they made up for it mostly. And then there's some Flyers, like the Rockets, who added Steven Adams last year, who has not played yet, but will be playing this season. They also have a really solid young core, and that might improve. Şengün, Jalen Green. There's also the Spurs, who should be looked out for. The Spurs have Victor Wembanyama about to take a leap. They added some good veterans like Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes to hopefully bring some experience to the team. Chris Paul, a huge addition. They need a point guard pretty bad. And the West is just stacked. Let's talk about the East now. The East is pretty stacked at the top, although the bottom is kind of not as good as the West. Teams like the Pistons, Hornets, Bulls, Raptors, Hawks, and probably Wizards, all are probably not going to be impact teams. The Nets as well, so that's like 7 teams in the conference, and some of these teams might make the playoffs as the AFC. So but the top 7 teams are pretty good in the East. I mean, we had the 76ers, who added Paul George, pair up with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. They also added Caleb Martin, Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond, and brought back Kyle Lowry and stuff. So they look like a pretty good force. The defending champion Boston Celtics extended and signed back everyone. So their team is going to run it back for at least 2 more years probably until Porzingis' contract is over. And it's important now to re-sign your players, get that chemistry. You see the Nuggets, 2023, couldn't re-sign Bruce Brown. Lost in the second round. Now cannot re-sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So it's really important to bring back your players. Then there is the Milwaukee Bucks, who are still looking pretty good. They added some pretty good additions, Taurean Prince, DeLon Wright, and they also added some other pretty good players. I'm blanking on who they added. There was 3 really good additions they added. Gary Trent Jr. Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. So this team with Giannis and Dame look pretty good with them. So they're still a threat. New York Knicks is also a really good team. They have added Mikal Bridges, Cam Payne to their squad, alongside re-signing basically all their players except Hartenstein. They still have some trade stuff they could do, and they look stacked. Their defense is insane. OG, Mikal, Josh Hart. Offense, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson. They just have talent all around. Then you got the Orlando Magic, who look to improve their roster with their improvements of the young players like Paolo and Franz Wagner, and also got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, re-signed all of their players basically, gave Jonathan Isaac a really good deal. So that was a pretty good offseason for the Magic, looking to improve. Also have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who Donovan Mitchell is going to stay. I don't know, are they going to trade Darius Garland or the Big Four? But Mobley just got a huge contract, so that's a pretty solid team right there. And then there's the Indiana Pacers, who didn't really make any big changes, but added James Wiseman, I guess, take a flyer on him, and kept the same roster. Re-signed Pascal Siakam, looking to improve off of their Eastern Conference Final appearance. Andrew Nembhard probably taking a leap. TJ McConnell, Tyrese Halliburton, all of that stuff. So the East, although not as good as the West, still has a pretty good top 7. And this season is about to be insane. What I'm predicting the championship will be in the finals, I'm predicting Boston is going to go back to the finals, with New York and Philadelphia becoming close second and third teams, in my opinion, to go to the finals. Those are the top 3 teams I think will go to the finals for the East. And then for the West, the top 3 teams I think will go to the finals are the OKC Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Denver Nuggets, with the Dallas Mavericks being a close 4th. So those are my predictions right now. Really, really excited to watch this season. Thank you guys for watching. We're out.